Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. I have 3 encounter stories to share with you all today, and I hope you all enjoy. If you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Now sit back and relax as we begin with today's episode. This first one takes place in October of 2005. We're heading to Callahan County, Texas, and the nearest town is Cross Plains. I was driving to San Angelo's and had just come out of Cisco going towards Cross Plains on 206 when I looked to my right to idly glance at the millionth field of cows I'd passed that day. As I approached the field, the cows were all towards the back, away from the highway, maybe 250 yards. I am a poor judge of distance, but I noticed something with the cows that wasn't a cow. It was black, like a few of the other cows were, but standing upright on 2 legs, a bit crouched over one of the cows that was lying down. It looked a bit anthropomorphic, like a casual conversation between people. I drove past it thinking, I'd just seen something odd, but not really sure of it, so I backed up on the shoulders to get a better look. When I did that, as I slowed to a stop, it seemed to look up at me. It stood up straight and walked towards the trees at the back of the field. It took a slow looping gait as if to say, I'm not scared of you, but I'm leaving anyways. When it had stood up completely and was traipsing to the trees, I noticed the back of one of the standing cows it passed, and it came to the waist of the creature, maybe a little lower. No one else seemed to be in the vicinity. I couldn't see what was behind the trees in the field, and no one passed me on the highway either when I had stopped or backing up. I didn't bother to get out and go look where it was standing because it weren't my cows or my field. As stated previously, there were cows, anywhere from 20 to 40. I didn't try to count them, but half were standing, half were lying down. They, the cows, didn't seem to be afraid of it. They were minding their own business, grazing, lying in the sun, and doing normal cow kind of things, with the exception of the black cow lying down at the feet of the creature. It was just staring up at the creature looming over it, neither one of them really moving. For this next one, we're going to Zakelj County, Arizona, and we're going to Mogollon Rim. It was about 3 years ago during the summer at around 11 a.m. in the morning when the sighting occurred. We were up past the Payson, Arizona area up the Mogollon Rim in what I think is the Tonto National Forest. I could be wrong on the forest name though, very high elevation. The area of the forest was remote and surrounded by 3 different lakes. It was hot and I don't remember any wind. We were going camping and decided to leave the populated camping areas and go further into the woods. We drove and finally ran out of road. I wasn't just in the forest when I saw it, but I was at least 15 miles further back off the beaten path. Truly no man's land, and obviously his land. We decided to turn around, but I wanted to walk our dogs for a few minutes and enjoy the scenery. I spotted something heading my direction, only walking at an angle to my right, meaning we would have to cross paths. It was about half of a football field away from me, and all I could see were the legs because it was so tall and the tree limbs were so low. You would picture a Bigfoot as dark brown or black, but this was the most beautiful light caramel color. I remember immediately thinking, what a beautiful Palomino horse. Then I suddenly realized that a horse has 4 legs, and all I could see were 2 very long legs taking long strides. I stopped walking and tried to rationalize where the back legs of this horse were and eventually realized that it only had 2 legs, no matter how hard I stared at it. Your mind does funny things, and I kept trying to think of a two-legged animal that would have legs that long. An elk will hop when fighting on its back legs, but again, this was striding like a human. A bear can walk on its hind legs, but their legs are not long and lean, and again, wouldn't have such long, smooth strides. I could think of nothing, and the first thought that did come to mind and stuck with me, stuck so hard that I lost my breath. It was a Sasquatch. I felt very uneasy, remembering this has all taken place in a matter of less than 30 seconds, and this thing is getting closer. So I turned around and started walking, sort of jogging for my truck. I noticed the creature a good 30 seconds before my dog did. I remember that because I kept thinking, oh no, if she sees this, she'll chase it. At that point, I turned, and my female lab, Chelsea, came to a full stop and lifted her head and growled. I could see her nose move at that moment, and I could still see it walking to my right, at a diagonal direction, and it hadn't slowed or paused. If it saw us, it gave no indication at all. Chelsea barked, turned, and ran like heck towards it. I believe she could see it at this point. As scared as I was, all I could think of was, it's going to kill my dog. Whether it would or not, I don't know. There was also a thought in my mind that if my dog caught up to it, then maybe it could catch up to me if it felt like it. That's when I knelt and used my playful voice to call my dog. She loves that voice, and when I saw that I had her attention, I yelled, "Come get Mummy!" Sounds dumb, I know. And I started running again. She hesitated before choosing to chase me instead, but in the end, she did come after me. I didn't smell anything like my dog did, maybe if I was close enough, but I was so scared that the air around me seemed electric. The thing I can't stress enough was how beautiful its fur was. The caramel blonde tone was so rich that I'm sure that's how I spotted it. Had it been dark, it would have blended more with the surroundings and I may not have noticed it. It walked twice as fast as any man, and again, that's what originally prompted me to originally think I was seeing a horse. And as I stated, that thought left the minute I realized there were only 2 legs. I can't imagine it didn't see or hear us. If a dog can sense it, I'm sure it sensed us right away. But it never slowed, never changed pace, never paused or stopped. It didn't change directions either. I can't remember ever being that scared. I got into my truck and screamed at my husband to get in. We drove off quickly while I told him the story. He didn't believe me. He can't tell me what it actually was, but yet he doesn't believe me anyways. I didn't see the full thing, but judging from its legs and from the height of the lowest branches on the trees, that it would have been at least 7 to 8 feet tall. I have no idea how tall these things are supposed to be, and I have no other explanation of what it could have been. This last one takes place May 28th of 2023. We're heading to Oconto County, Wisconsin, and the nearest town is Breed. Sunday, May 28th, 2023, between 7 and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. I was driving north on Peshtigo Brook Road, where it comes to a 90-degree corner to the left and turns into North Branch Road. To the left at North Branch Road also goes off to the right, but it is more of a UTV-ATV trail. The road ahead of the corner, Izzy's Lane, is a gravel road. This area in northern Oconto County, Wisconsin, is mostly wooded with swamps near the Oconto River. As I near the corner, I saw a black and brown large figure of a man that I thought may have been someone that broke down on the trail as I was walking south toward Peshtigo Brook Road. I stopped at the corner as I could not believe what I was looking at, trying to wrap my head around it and convince myself it was a man as it was walking on 2 legs, and it had taken from what I saw about 10 steps towards me. However, there was no sound, no yelling for help or waving of arms, and no human-colored skin. It was in fact a dark black and brown figure with large legs even at the base towards the feet. It was not a bear and it was not a human. I looked around the corner and I could see in the distance down the North Branch Road that a human was walking east towards me in that direction. I then looked back and this large black-brown figure went into the ditch and disappeared. I was convinced it had to be a Sasquatch. There is one residence farther down the road on the left-hand side, from how I was facing north. However, this was before that property. Talking further with another local, the individual that lives on that property is in a wheelchair. Almost mesmerized and confused at what I saw, I never got my phone out to take a picture. It never crossed my mind, and now I question why. Why wouldn't I try to take a picture? That will forever be the question. As I then continued on my drive, coming closer to the human walking down a north branch towards Peshtigo Brook Road, I can clearly see that it was a woman. Several hours later, I drove back that way to see if I could see any footprints or evidence of what I saw. However, with the holiday weekend, everything was covered in ATV/UTV tracks. I did notice there was a fence that went along the ditch side going into the woods, but it was cut out in several locations. Well, that's all for today, guys. I hope you all enjoyed these encounter stories today. And have you had an encounter similar to these three? And if you have and would like to share them, you can forward your encounters to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story on this channel. Now, let me take the time to thank the current OC members. And if you want to become a member, then head on over to the Communities tab on my channel to learn more. The current members are Jim, Teresa, Elizabeth, and Dale. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Thanks everyone for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have yourselves a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.